warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Tria Naj'la Prima Hermanto, and today I would like to present you my thesis result with the title is The Study of Young Millennials Perseverance Toward the Intention of Using Financial Technology or FINTECH. And then I would like to thanks to my thesis advisor, Verni Juita. Because of her guidance and suggestion, it makes me finish my thesis. Also to my examiner, Denny, Yohana. I would like to thanks to you for your comment and suggestion in order to improve my thesis better. So, before we start our presentation, this presentation divided into 5 sections, which is Introduction, Literature Review, Research Methodology, Result and Discussion, and the last is Conclusion. Then, Indonesia Internet Service Provider Association in 2019 reported the number of internet users in 2018 as 171.17 million. The amount of users grew as 10.12% from the previous 2017 data. This increasing influenced by several factors. One of them is the presence of gadget and smartphone. The existence of gadget and smartphone make people easier to access the internet. This condition makes the industry develop new innovation in technology utilization called financial technology. Bank of Indonesia define FINTECH as the technology utilization in financial system that allows the business model to influence efficiency, security, and reliability in various business process. They also categorize financial technology in 4 classifications, such as digital payment, P2P and crowdfunding, risk management and investment, and also market aggregator. So, digital payment provide a place to making payment electronically. Using this product, the payment can be done within seconds through mobile phone and reduce transaction costs. The most popular digital payment products such as Dana, GoPay, OVO, and Link Aja. And then P2P lending and crowdfunding is FINTECH product in financing technology. Crowdfunding platform will provide funding project with the contribution from many people, while P2P more to the credit activity using the matching requirement between lender and borrower. Market aggregator provide the information related to review about the financial product. In FINTECH practice, market aggregator is a comparison website or comparison aggregator. So, the user may compare the price of the feature of financial products. Risk management and investment offer automatic portfolio advisor, so the user may have diversified portfolio based on their personal information. Daily Social also found that the ease of use is the strongest reason of why people have intention to adopt financial technology, followed by simple and efficiency. It helps users in access financial service everywhere. But besides the benefit it offers, there are also risks in it. So, there are so many news and headlines about the risks in financial services, such as legal problem, fraud, identity theft, misappropriation of personal data, and application hang-up. This information supports the reason why people tend to have so many concerns about the consequence. Also, review in 2018 described there are 4 main risks in digital technology, such as financial risk, legal risk, security risk, and operational risk. The existence of risk explains the hesitant people in using financial service digitally. Koch and Rich found that there is an unwillingness to use a technology because of the risk or uncertainty in it called with perseverance. Different perseverance of different people influenced by their experience in technology utilization. This statement, also strengthened by the study from Dosen in 2011, discussed that the younger people more risk taker rather than the older. So, to be more specific, the digital user dominate with the age range from 20 until 39 years old, familiar called with Millennial'S. And Millennials are known as digital native because they use technology for social networking, finding information, and shopping, while the other generation only use the technology for the certain needs. Also, this generation commonly spend their whole time using the technology, and they familiar with the risk in it because they stay with the phone all the time. It doesn't mean that they not only use technology for the financial services purpose, but they commonly used for daily social needs such as messenger and social media. And the survey from UPG found that millennials spend their time only for gadgets in social media rather than for the financial transaction purpose. And surprisingly, in 2017, IDX reported the mostly of their investors are young generation with 30.3% ahead from the other generation. It makes young generation today become the target for one of the financial services, which is investment. And also IDX put more effort to call of all of the millennial in joining investment with hashtag Yuk Nabung Saham. And this condition makes young generation give more attention to use vintage product besides it has several risks. Millennials already face the technology since the beginning. They were also familiar with the risk that comes along with the financial service digitally. The prior study only discussed about the perceived risk in general fintech user. The understanding of financial technology user perceived risk and millennial perceived risk to online shopping behavior. Because of the young generation is digital native and has high risk tolerance, it is so interesting if there is a study that focuses on millennials' perceived risk in fintech usage. Therefore, this study aims to explore the specific group of fintech users, which is millennial, and their intention to adopt fintech based on the perceived risk. And then let's move to the chapter 2, which is the literature review. And the first we meet with the theory related to age and risk. And there are 3 theories that I use in this study. The first is generation theory, the second is social comparison theory, and the last is prospect theory. Decision making will be influenced by the increasing of age and experience. People tend to learn from their past experience. A group of people that face the same experience in their life may have a similar opinion about a phenomena. And later, this discussion about the generation judgment will be explained in generation theory, while the judgment mechanism may be explained more in social comparison theory, and in depth, the behavior related to risk and age will be described more using prospect theory. And also, prospect theory explain about the behavior, while the derivative of this theory, which is the mental accounting, will have a discussion about the financial side. And then we move to the hypothesis development. There are 5 hypotheses. This based on the perceived risk. Perceived risk describe the uncertainty of the occurrent unpleasant consequence. The perceived risk may explain the behavior of people who are doubtful while doing the online transaction and asking the consequence while buying the product. Based on this theory of perceived risk, this identified as the risk that considered by the people before they decide to buy something or not, or while they would like to decide to use this technology or not. And then, the loss imaging also described in prospect theory, while this indicates that the individual makes the decision based on the value function under the uncertainty condition. This is clear that the consumer imaging about having loss is something that the people in financial technology should consider enough. While the imaging of loss at a high rate, the consumer will unwilling to adopt the financial technology. Because of that, we know that the consumer intention or adopt financial technology tends to be negative because of the perceived risk. So this will be the best for the first hypothesis, that the perceived risk has a negative correlation to the customer in the intention to adopt financial technology. While the perceived risk as a whole could be imagined as the negative consequence, while the customer only like to adopt the technology, and the perceived financial risk will be loss expectation while a consumer using a financial technology. The consumer may be unsure about the information and authentication of the data. They may increase the worries to adopt mobile payment. So, the existence of financial risk will increase the negative consequence. That's why the financial risk has the positive correlation to the perceived risk. The unpredictable financial technology make the customer unwilling to adopt financial technology. The condition of where there is no legal status and also there is no strict regulation made by the government will make people feel more uncertain to think about using financial technology. On the other side, the step that OJK used to make the data for the financial technology company that associate with OJK is one of the best way from the government to decrease the possibility of people's unwilling while there will be the other risk because there is still no clear regulation that the government makes. So this is why the third hypothesis that the increasing of legal risk will increase the perceived risk. And then the data information of customers sometimes should be discovered while they using financial technology. The possibility of them to access the customer data seems to be scary for the customer. Because of this data could be exposed, the study mentioned the security risk will be higher for customer privacy. On the other side, the security could be lax because of hacking that happened to the security data of financial technology. So this is why the security risk has the positive effect to the perceived risk. And the operating system that runs by the financial technology services sometimes could be an error. This error may be caused by the condition of the system itself is in their bad performance. While the customer is in the unsure about the uncertainty of the system, the possibility may be error will be cause the customer to unsure to the technology. So, the likelihood of financial technology for a risk, the high responses of unwillingness to use the financial technology. That's why the operational risk has the positive effect to the perceived risk. Okay, so for the chapter 3, this is the research methodology. The purpose of this study is to analyze the variables that influence millennial generation in vintage adoption based on their perceived risk. So the question was distributed with snowball sampling technique, this is a method for identifying, selecting, and taking a sample on a chain continuous relationship through social media such as WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram in Google Form format. So, the data analysis in this study is done by using simple statistical technique, which is Microsoft Excel. However, the deeper analysis result, SAMPLS is used as the tool in the study. So, in the use of SAMPLS, the study follows a number of processes that involve the specification model, which is the inner and outer model, and the evaluation of the model followed by testing the hypothesis. Outer model is a measurement by assessing the validity and reliability of the model, while the inner model is for the hypothesis testing. Then we move to the chapter 4, that is the result and discussions. And the respondents in this study were dominated by women, with the differences 19% compared to the men. However, this study shows that as much as 51% of higher education is dominated by men. Meanwhile, female respondents dominate high school education with 64%. Besides the millennial fulfilled with the well-educated people, the income is still below 5 million Indonesian rupiah. This situation explains the millennials still in the first stage to get well employed, and most of them are students. On the other side, 28% of millennials already have a high income even at the young age. And then we move to the specification models. The specification of the model explains how the data analysis before and after measurement and the testing. So, the model in the left side shows that this is a second order research model. Factors in risk perceived are reflected by the green statement contained in the questionnaires, and all four risks represent about their influence on risk perception. Furthermore, this perception will be seen as how it affects the intention to use financial technology. While in the figure at the right, this after testing measurement model. So we can determine, after we determine the validity and reliability, it's look like the intention to use number one, or the indicator for the intention to use financial technology did not match with the reliability and validity testing. And then testing the measurement model is used to test the validity and reliability of research before evaluating and testing the correlation between variables. After testing the validity and reliability, several statements have been eliminated because they did not meet the validity and reliability requirements. Convergent validity is related to the principle that gauge of a construct should be highly correlated. So convergent validity is met if the AV is higher than 0.5. Based on this testing, so all of the criteria, all of this contract is greater than 0.5. Well, the discriminant validity function is to show whether the measurement indicator in a construct will highly correlated with each other in the construct and have a lower correlation or not even have a correlation to the other construct. We could see that the financial have the highest correlation with also the financial risk. This the same thing happen at the last is the security risk have the highest correlation to the security risk. It's not related with the other risk, even if it is with the perceived risk. And the next is the reliability test. Reliability test carry out to prove the accuracy, consistently and accuracy of the instrument or indicator in measurement the construct. The reliability test is done by looking at the value composite reliability is greater than 0.7, and as we could see in this composite reliability value, all of the construct has a value higher than 0.7. And then we move to the hypothesis testing or inner model. We have the three things that we should consider before we know in how about our hypothesis is accepted or not. The first is original sample, the second is t-statistic, and the last is p-value. For the original, it shows the direction. Well, all of the directions should be in positive, but this exception for the perceived risk to the intention to use, because in our hypothesis, the perceived risk influence the intention to use in negatively way. So, in the original sample, as you can see in the table, all for the four risks have the positive effect to the perceived risk, while the perceived risk has the negative effect to intention to use. So this same with hypothesis. And then the t-statistic, all of the value in t-statistic should be greater than 0.96. So it's mean that data were significant. So based on the table, all of the t-value has the value greater than 1.69. And the last is p-value. It means that the hypotheses are accepted if the p-value is lower than 0.05. This is about the conclusion. We already come to the conclusion. Okay, before we start this conclusion, I would like to remind you all of the things from the first chapter until the fourth chapter. This research was conducted to explore the millennial perceived risk in financial technology intention. By distributing online questionnaire and using snowball sampling technique as the sampling method, we gathered 367 data obtained and then processed in the study. However, the female student dominate with the whole of total respondent at 64%. All the respondent data collected is processed through simple statistics using Microsoft Excel and also Smart PLS. So, the conclusion are: first, there are four factors in risk perception, which is the financial risk, legal risk, security risk, and operational risk. All of these four risks has the positive effect to the perceived risk, while the perceived risk only has lower than 30% to the intention to use. So it's mean that the risk that perceived by the millennial is still lower than 30%, and it means that the risk comprehended by the millennials is still in the low level. And then, based on the four risks that influence, the legal risk is the most considered by the younger generation in using financial technology, followed by the security, operational risk, and also the financial risk. More attention to financial risk shows that the younger generation is aware to the legality of the services and protector in making the transaction using financial technology. Meanwhile, the financial risk tend to not affect because when the person intends to use the financial service, the finance are the last thing to be involved in the use of technology, where the other risk is the risk before they decide to use the financial technology services. To compare each type of FINTECH user, which is the user of digital payment, P2P and crowdfunding, marketplace investment, and the last is cryptocurrency. We found that cryptocurrency user perceive risk higher than the other type of financial technology, while the digital payment user has the lowest risk consideration. This caused by digital payment user having similar experience when using e-banking with the existing digital payment, so the risk perception tend to be lower rather than the cryptocurrency user. Apart from cryptocurrency is still new, the existence of legal uncertainty in transaction using cryptocurrency digital money become the one of the things that influence high risk perceived in the cryptocurrency study that already conducted. There are also limitation and suggestion for the future research. For the suggestion for the future research is the first, that conduct a wider distribution so that the sample of time is longer, because the limited time of the distribution period and also the limited capability of the researcher to distribute the data. So we hope that for the future research could obtain more data in the future. So the second is the use of other variable is fully recommended in future study, because we only use four type of risk, such as the financial risk, legal risk, security risk, and also the operational risk. We hope that for the future study, they not only use these four risks but also find the another risk, such as psychological risk, time risk, and convenience, or they compare it also with the benefit. And the last is using time horizon, because we only took the data for one time and there is no repetition data. So I hope that in the future research, the researcher could use the more variation time horizon. So if they took the data for today and they will took the data for a month or a year later, so we know that we will know what's the real millennial intention to FINTECH adoption. So that's all my presentations. Thanks for your attention and sorry for the mistake.